next we're going to have a panel. The panel will be titled Running the Country on AI. And here we will ask the lifelong question, can governments be efficient and can they implement AI? And let's look into it. So we're going to have fantastic panelists here who are experts at what they do. And let's dive into, again, a bit the governmental side. Yeah, because it's so important to implement AI thoughtfully. And let's welcome our wonderful panelists. And we will have the moderator Evalds Urtans, who's the CEO of Pitch Patterns. And, might I say, one of the best AI educators and developers in Latvia.
Whew.
He will be joined by Vytautas Kubilius, who's the Baltic Region Director for Google. And they will be joined by Gatis Ozols, Undersecretary for Digital Transformation and Government Chief Information Officer. From the Ministry of Smart Administration and Regional Development. And last but not least, a wonderful lady, Goda will join them, and she's the founder of AI Productivity Hub. Welcome.
Let's welcome all.
Yeah, woo. Welcome. Join us on the stage.
So I'll try to make this panel about government as interesting as possible. So, AI has been around all of us, right? Let's start by Gartner's hype cycle. So you all know what is Gartner's hype cycle? Somebody knows? So the idea, you have new technology, everybody says this will be great, it goes up, and then everybody is trying to use it, and something didn't work out, it was not yet ready, it goes down, it goes to this valley of despair that, it's not useful, it's shit. And then it goes up, but not as high as the hype, and then goes in the productivity plateau, right? So this is, in a nutshell, the Gartner hype cycle. And let's ask our guest today, where we are at the Gartner's hype cycle with regards to AI. So, Gati, maybe start.
Yeah, thank you. Hello. Regarding Gartner hype cycle, and I think that from my perspective, I would distinguish AI in different sections, because there are no one AI. There are different ways how AI we can see, and I believe in that case they are also positioned in different places of the Gartner cycle. For example, computer vision, I think it's in a plateau of productivity. We see it everywhere, we can receive our traffic tickets, red light cameras. We installed even recently in our border to monitor immigration of vision AI, and also the production and factories. So I think it's in a productive case, but we see about, for example, generative AI. We could discuss, is it rise of high expectation, or it's already is going down step? For example, in government, I think we are kind of in both positions, because we have high expectations, but then we have already tried to implement it in organizational matter, and now we see, you cannot solve every problem with AI only, with generative AI. You cannot reply all the citizen inquiries automatically by using generative AI, so it's going at some cases already down.
Wow, so we are here, and there. So, Goda?
Hi. I actually been talking about this on stage around a year ago, and the way I like to think about it is basically what is the key value proposition of AI? And if you really boil it down, it's productivity and efficiency gains. But then if you start thinking that really any technology value proposition, let's look back at electricity, internet, it's really kind of always following the same patterns. And the thing is, history kind of repeats itself. So probably we don't talk about electricity, but not many people know that, for example, to adopt electricity took, depending on the region, between 4 decades to 6 decades. And the problem was, and this is where, for you, some of you, I don't know, in my past life, I worked as an architect before moving into tech. The reason adoption of electricity, and it was called scam, same as internet was called scam, was because first we needed completely to rethink our factories. We needed to find new ways to see how we are solving problems. So in a factory, we would have in a center like a steam machine. So it took around 4 decades for when you have to renew and build new factories to rethink the layout, simply hire new architects. And once you rethink layout, what architects did and everybody, we put a generator instead of a steam machine in the center. Well, the thing is, with generators and electricity, the biggest gains we saw once people took it to the next level and they are not looking in the past, started thinking about future, and they made a distributed electricity network. This is where it was like, oh my God, we got incredible productivity gains, and it's not a scam. Right now, electricity is everywhere, all the time. We hit that productivity plateau.
So probably will not need to wait 6 decades. So what do you think, Vytautas?
Yeah, I agree. Probably not 6 decades, but a good analogy for sure. And I agree with Gatis, that AI is a little bit more than chatbots and LLMs. So certainly there are different paces in different countries. But I would look as well a little bit differently from the perspective of who is using and who is adopting, right? So on private users, on consumers level, we've seen this enthusiasm very much from the get-go. People loved it. People immediately saw, that's interesting. I can play around. I can do some interesting stuff. It actually helps my productivity. Now, when it came to business and government, initial reaction was a little bit more reserved. And we saw a lot of focus on, but what about these edge cases? What about the kind of the bad scenarios? And now we are starting to see that, especially governments are turning really, more towards, okay, there is a clear recognition that this can help the society, this can help the productivity of the countries, and there is a clearer kind of adoption, clearer case for using that. And last year we did, together with Implement Consulting, we did a survey, including in the Baltics, in terms of economic impact purely of the generative AI. And it shows that in the next decade, European Union can gain 8% of GDP if it adopts the tools quickly. And here are a couple caveats and a couple kind of worrying points for me. Is when we look at the large companies, they adopt much quicker than the small companies. So that's one point. We see as well that when different surveys are asking people, are you using AI tools in your daily job, 70% of employees are saying yes. I am actually using some of the tools in my day-to-day job. When you ask the company CEOs, are you actually using anything in your work? 10% are saying yes. So we already have
90%, the company executives say they don't use in business processes AI.
And so that's already a discrepancy here. And then what truly worries me is that when we ask the question, are you going to be implementing that in your company strategy, the Baltic numbers are not looking great, to be very honest. So when we look at countries like Poland, when we look at Serbia, when we look at Romania, they are double the numbers of the Baltic countries. And for those of you who still remember the 2000s, the Baltic Tigers moniker, you remember what happened when we were growing like 6, 7, 8% GDP. Why did that happen? Because we adopted the digital technologies faster than everyone else. We really went there. Now we are one of the most open economies globally. Everything is export, and that's a very competitive landscape. So European Commission has been warning us for many years that you're becoming very wealthy countries. The compensation is growing very fast, but we are part of the global market. And there is this next, if you will, the tiger moment, but it's global. And other countries are becoming faster than us in adopting, and that really worries me. And I think that's the moment where we as Baltics, we cannot miss that moment. We cannot afford to miss it.
Yeah, I agree. Like I'm also coming from Latvian Association of Artificial Intelligence, which we established. We see the exact same data in Latvian professional surveys. But then from the startup perspective, I think this from the startups around here as well is that we are kind of high at hype because everybody is using terms AI in their pitch decks. So now I'm actually seeing startups putting other names for their technologies, like next generation systems, and like because it's now commonplace. So, but to accelerate all of this progress, is here in Baltics, we here have in Latvia now working with the Center of Artificial Intelligence, which is Gatis, one of the responsibilities. Can you explain everyone like what it is, what we can expect of it, and what stage it is right now?
Yeah. I think from the state, it's important to provide a balance, because when we are in Europe, we see, okay, regulation, and of course our ministry and all the government institutions are busy of like implementing the regulation. But then what's on the other hand, do you have some proposal for development,
So it's
driving and adoption?
It's not a regulation.
It's not a regulation, and it's not like an institution that will be monitoring and regulating, but it's about how we can drive adoption in AI and how we can help the sectors to transform the regulation to enable adoption of AI in the sectors, in the health sector, education sector, and so on. So we need to build this feedback loop between the sector and the government. But our vision of establishing AI center is to become one of the most convenient countries in EU to adopt AI, to implement and to develop AI, because we see the regulation that's going on, and we need some tools to help institutions. We see also as a gateway to the we see Europe is highly regulated market. So if we can make it more convenient to align with the regulation, so we can be a good gateway for the institutions or organizations all around the world. So this is our vision, and we also see that the center would help to organize our national capacity, like experts, associations, developers, research, and so on. So currently, we see that we have a thriving industry. We have like universities which work on that, but they are not very like well connected in some. They are loosely connected at some point. So we see that this hub will help to organize and catalyze some cooperations and partnerships to enable quicker adoption of AI in the sectors. And from the organizational perspective, we are currently, from the government side, we have initiated, actually it was initiated by our president, but now we would like to see that the center sits outside of the government. It's like governed by the private sector, and the government is just 1/3 part of the center, which comes with the financing as a founding member, but then it's more or less it's organized by the industry and by the research institutions. So currently we are establishing the center. We have like we had to make a law for that. It was like to get it into the cabinet of ministers, it took some 2 months, but those who know public sector, 2 months for law is like a speed of light. Yes, it's very fast. Yes,
Nothing.
So, yeah. But now we are at the parliament, so we are in the second reading, and we have discussions with parliamentarians. So, but the benefits out of this process is also that all the community gathers together. We have a strong support from industry, from research part, and we are looking forward at the March, April to establish the center.
So Vytautas, from the global perspective, what are good examples we have of such AI centers, and what are their functions?
I'll get to that, but as a basketball fan, I'm very good with numbers and the digital clocks. And I just saw what you did. Like, they stole 15 minutes of this clock that is running here.
I thought it was hallucinating.
No, you're
It was
not.
like
I mean, I'm just seeing the numbers are going so fast. Anyway, coming back to the global examples. Look, I mean, what Gatis is saying, I think it's exactly the right approach. I'm looking at a lot of research and a lot of, we're doing a lot of reading. Obviously, our cloud colleagues working with the public sector and with the governments, looking how can we assist, how can we help. And I'm seeing, so a couple things, a couple kind of different directions. First of all, lots and lots of good and interesting cases of actual, real impact, good stuff happening on municipal level. So, the cities, for example, are implementing better traffic organization due to AI algorithms that are helping to reduce the traffic jams and pollution and so on. Municipal agencies are doing a better job in informing people about what's going on, having chatbots that are helping, for example, foreigners to immediately do translation and to connect to the right organization. So municipalities and universities, they're doing good practical work already now. On the government level, I see a lot of analysis and a lot of big strategy thinking. And here, in terms of practical applications, what I really like seeing is Denmark, for example, the same Lithuania, doing a sandbox. Doing a sandbox meaning regulator is stepping up and saying, you know what, we're going to give you an environment where you can safely experiment. We're going to help you to actually, here is the data, here is the legal framework. You are not going to get fined immediately for doing something interesting and innovating. We're going to give you a safe environment to actually experiment. And I think that is exactly the right approach of doing that. So quite a few countries are working on that and are implementing it. And I think that's what I would say is exactly the right approach.
So Goda, are you seeing some other examples in the global stage where governments are implementing already some of these AI solutions in their processes?
Yes, I would say pay close attention to Singapore and United Arab Emirates. For example, in United Arab Emirates, the way law enforcement and police has been piloting mind-reading devices to solve crimes. Facial recognition is like, in airport when you're walking, they know exactly where you are, when you are, and who you are. So that has been that technology for a long time. I think one other, I wouldn't say, I would change word implementing, because I can't speak on that, but I was just showing multi-agent systems, and we've been working or getting support from Canadian government, and just last we got a grant from Netherlands government too. So thank God it's not VC supporting us, it's literally taxpayers. But the reason I'm sharing this is because talking about government, again, I would go back and reason what in a government, what are pain points to show people that, hey, you have this pain point. And I think it's Y Combinator put out that 4% of people do admin work, literally creating documents, analyzing data. And one of the multi-agent systems that we put out was we could do anything, literally coding, but the pain point that we heard is like, okay, can you help me crunch all the giant data, analyze it, and draw me insights, so also populating documents, that it would be reliable. So hallucination, so this is what we've been working. So I think once you solve in a government when there is so much admin, so much regulations, the processes are so long, you have to go through so many documentations. If you solve that problem for your members and you help them to understand that this is going to help you, I think that's easier to implement. Like answer, like it's just like Simon Sinek TED Talk. Like first answer why. Why 50-year-old maybe woman in administration should use this? What she benefits.
Yeah, so you gave already insight, like you said 4% of government officials work paperwork.
4% globally people.
Globally, which can be, I guess, automated mainly.
Yeah.
So the Gati, well, what is your plan for, what's the first outdated process in government you would
We
like
need to talk.
Yes, I think, yeah, we'll definitely will talk about that. But I think there are some several low-hanging fruits we can already like implement in the government. The first one is I would like to government that would work, that the outdated process that citizens have to search for government services. I think that we as a government have to be like success managers for our citizens. So now all the information that you have on regulation, on public services, on the needs of the citizens and so on, so you can like very nicely put it in like a success manager, digital success manager for the citizen. I think that's what we and it goes beyond the chatbots, because the chatbots like you can make it like agentic one and so on. On the back-end side, I think compliance assessment and all those things could be automated, and also the ones who have to comply with it can have like a guidance, and you don't need to make it like a lot of people who do the compliance checking, and so you can automate. And we have already started nationally some talks with our agencies how to come automate this process.
Building permits or what exactly?
Building permits or standardization bodies that you have to comply with and so on. So they're doing the checks for the standards and so on. In the morning I have a chat with a guy from our from Latvia who's now worked on startups, and he said that he was like working to implement the idea of that in many cases in government you have this 2 + 2 eyes kind of approach, different processes that you monitor something. So we could go to the switch to the 2 + AI. So you have 2 eyes and then you have AI. So If
So
Nikita is here,
50%.
greetings to Nikita. So we'll see how to manage this. So you know.
50% less the
Yes,
bureaucracy,
yes,
yeah?
yes.
Okay.
We actually call this, you know how we have B to C, B to B? We call it A to B, AI to business.
Okay.
I think next year is going to be the whole category. Just
Okay,
Let's
okay.
see.
So we're running out of time, as you mentioned. That, so, but basically, the regulation, you Vytautas have this global perspective on these things. So, like, if you will have a say, what you would do with the EU regulations, regard to GDPR, AI? Would you implement them fully, change, abolish? What should you?
Oh,
say?
geez, you're giving me a very big role here to decide upon those things. No, look, I mean, AI is too big of a technology not to regulate it, but we need to regulate it well, right? So we need to resist the temptation of regulating the entire technology and rather focus on the use cases and on the use cases that we do not want. This is totally fine. So that's the important part. The AI Act that was adopted is quite okay and quite workable. Now there are some new attempts to bring back stuff that was actually rejected there, but I think we're gonna be just fine. I know, you know, EU is regulating a lot, but again, this is the way we as European Union citizens think about stuff, and that is quite okay. At the same time, I think everyone has seen the Draghi report, right? And has seen that in their assessment, regulation is exactly what put European Union behind the US, for example, where we started at quite similar sizes of the economy. US is now nearly 20% larger. And this is, in a way, thanks to over-regulating. So in Europe, we are facing a productivity crisis. This is very clear. We are lagging behind in competitiveness. And we have the technology that is working on productivity. So I think for me, in my head, that's like a 2+2 situation. So it's very clear what is ahead of us and what we need to do. So we need to resist the temptation of over-regulating the technology. But general regulation, yes, this is needed because it is a very powerful tool, and you can go a little bit off the rails if you don't do anything about it.
Okay, you want to add something?
Yeah, just a small add-on, like a difference from the GDPR is that it's a risk-based regulation. GDPR is like a very generic, and in AI, there are some like estimations that almost like 70% will not be impacted by this regulation, like AI solutions. So you just when the people who are there from the startup scene just have to monitor it. Are you on a high risk or the other one? Like, but a lot of majority is not impacted by this as well.
So unfortunately we're out of time. So just the last sentence from each of us, like how will AI change our Baltic competitiveness in, let's say, 10 years? Maybe just one sentence. Vytautas.
One sentence, yeah, that's not my strong suit. But look, my hope is very clear. We know how to use these opportunities. We know how to leapfrog. We have this competitive mentality. We need to catch up, and we need to take over. And that's, I hope that this is exactly what's going to happen. Our governments are smart. They are fast. 2 months to adopt a law, I mean, that is freaking fantastic, to be very honest. In most of the countries, they wouldn't be able to believe that. So I'm fairly certain that we, being lean, small countries, we understand what's going on, and we are going to adopt the right approach. And I'm fairly certain that in a couple of years, we're going to be looking at those researches, and we're going to be saying, well, we are back to being the digital front runners. We are back to being at the very front of the full crowd.
Lean, small, fast. Right. So, Goda?
Yeah, also.
Lean,
I talk on YouTube, so one sentence is also challenging. I think one thing that just popped in my head, just as takeaway. Last year there was Peter, who is founder of Silo AI, and look up what he is doing. It's really impressive. He's championing Europe, but then he's funding also this research. I think it's called ELIS, and I was very excited. And I looked up that there is AI research and development centers across Europe, but not in Lithuania, not in Latvia, and not in Estonia. Which is, if we are talking, we don't want GPT wrappers and startups and just chatbots. We have to invest in actually getting talent and fostering AI research in Baltics.
Okay, so investment in Baltics AI research, yep.
Thank you.
I think as highly digitized societies and the governments, we have all the necessary preconditions to be at the forefront of adoption of AI as well. But I think the challenge one will be of talent retention because of some economies which have a much less regulated environment and more like appealing kind of for experimentation.
Less regulated environment.
Yes.
So let's hope for all of these things. Give a hand for our guests, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure.